When does Snow White come out?
Cry me a river. She's just exactly everything that we can't stand.
She's also just a spoiled, entitled, narcissistic brat.
And it's going to fail.
I think so too. I think
I watched some of the previews. It's ugly as sin.
I'm so disappointed in Disney.
Disney also abolished its famous princes and princesses because they're gender stereotypes. Really? Can't we just have princes and princesses anymore?
They've been in a full meltdown about this girl for a couple of years now.
You actually don't want to know what celebrities think politically.
She is Snow White because of her skin color.
There's no doubt that she drove the final nail into this movie's coffin.
Whoever did Rachel Zegler's hair and makeup in this, it was a crime against humanity. The haircut gives Lord Farquaad vibe.
It really does seem to me that this is like a 19-year-old's version of feminism. You've got to reject men. They have to be painted as toxically masculine. You have to spit on true love. Like, that is not a value that is universal. You've got to get rid of the love storyline and focus more on how she wants to be, CEO of IBM.
Can we just get to True Love's kiss and happily ever?
Just give us true love's kiss and happily ever after. That's all anyone ever wanted. But Jordan Peterson has had enough. And this time, his sights are set on Rachel Zegler. After watching the Snow White remake spiral into disaster, he spoke up, echoing what millions have been thinking. He saw the interviews, read the posts, tracked the backlash, and finally asked the question on everyone's mind. How did Disney let this happen? Disney went all in. Over $270 million to make the film. Another $200 million just to promote it. Nearly $500 million spent on what should have been a guaranteed win. A timeless fairy tale, backed by a global brand and built-in fan base. The first warning sign, the trailer. It tanked instantly, becoming one of the most downvoted trailers in YouTube history. Audiences hated it. Rotten Tomatoes scored it at a dismal 42%. IMDb gave it a 6/10. Metacritic was even harsher. These weren't mixed reviews. They were loud, clear, and overwhelmingly negative.
Snow White bombs, breaks records for the lowest live-action remake opening ever.
They had her tweet out, "Yay, Snow White, can't wait, so excited, I love to play her," and got like millions of views, and they were like, "Good job, Rachel." And then she, like, minutes later, followed it up with, "And never forget, free Palestine." And they were like, my God, what?
She was meant to be Disney's next big star, the modern face of a new generation of princesses. But instead of honoring the role, she seemed determined to dismantle it. In press interviews, Zegler slammed the 1937 original as creepy, called the prince a stalker, dismissed the classic love story, and proudly claimed her Snow White would be about power and independence. Jordan Peterson didn't call that bold. He called it narcissism, a lack of discipline, a tone-deaf rejection of a beloved legacy, the filmmakers behind it, and the millions who cherished the story growing up. His message was clear. When you're handed a multi-million-dollar contract, flying private, walking red carpets, and being promoted globally, your words matter. You don't get to mock the film, alienate the audience, and act like it's business as usual. Where most stars might have gone quiet, she tweeted cheerful posts like "Yay, Snow White," as if nothing had happened. Then she pivoted into divisive, political territory, posting pro-Palestine takes that immediately fractured her already fragile public image. Behind the scenes, Disney was in full damage control. One producer reportedly flew across the country just to personally ask her to take the post down. She refused. It got so bad, the studio had to bring in a full-time media consultant just to manage her public messaging. Even the producer's own son spoke out, saying his dad had to leave his family behind to beg Zegler to stop dragging politics into promotional events.
Flew an executive, one of the producers, out to go visit personally with Rachel Zegler to say, could you please take that down? Because we understand you can have your political views, but those aren't really helpful in where you're trying to build an audience for a movie. But like, maybe not, maybe just take the tweet down. And she wouldn't. And then they had to hire a special media consultant for her to follow her around all the time. Son of that producer who got on the plane to go over and say, would you please, for the love of God, take this down? And she wouldn't, was all on Instagram yesterday admitting it all.
And then Jonah Platt, who's the son of the producer of the film, responded and said, you really want to do this? Yeah, my dad, the producer of an enormous piece of Disney IP with hundreds of millions of dollars on the line, had to leave his family to fly across the country to reprimand his 20-year-old employee for dragging her personal politics into the middle of promoting the movie, for which she signed a multi-million-dollar contract to get paid and do publicity for. This is called adult responsibility and accountability, and her actions clearly hurt the film's box office. Free speech does not mean you're allowed to say whatever you want in your private employment without repercussions. Tens of thousands of people worked on that film, and she hijacked the conversation for her own immature desires at the risk of all the colleagues and crew.
And that's exactly what Peterson honed in on. The attitude. His criticism wasn't just about a failed film. It was about a deeper issue in Hollywood. When studios let actors believe they're untouchable, when stars treat their platform as more important than the project itself, it sends everything off course. They forget that behind every movie are thousands of hardworking people, artists, crew, editors, animators, counting on them to show up, stay focused, and simply do the job.
She believes that she should be able to express herself regardless of the consequences to everybody else. In reality, you have a job. You're getting paid to do this job. You signed on the dotted line. And that job comes with certain basic responsibilities. One of the most basic is the responsibility to control yourself and comport yourself a certain way publicly so that you don't harm the project and thereby harm all the hundreds of other people who are working on it.
So what do you think the odds are of this person working ever again?
The numbers tell the story. Opening weekend pulled in just $43 million. By the second weekend, it had dropped a staggering 70%. The total box office haul, nowhere near break-even. Industry analysts estimate the film needed at least $500 million just to cover costs. But it's not even close. Merch is sitting untouched on shelves. Theaters are half empty. Families aren't showing up. And the most telling part, no one's surprised.
Does Snow White come out?
When you have a big corporation like Disney, who I did movies for, and I worked for years for Disney, when we have to, as parents of an 8-year-old and a 12-year-old now, we have to watch the movie first just to make sure that there's not any woke nonsense, any indoctrination geared to our children. That is really telling.
Rachel Zegler, who's Colombian, is fighting with the Israeli Gal Gadot about what's going on. Gal Gadot, she's from Israel. She served her country. Rachel Zegler is a freaking Colombian chick born in America. You don't know nothing about the Middle East.